This is Amelia Cotter. This is Friday Pilot Club, and we're in a ghost tour. This is Blackest New AP Style.
City Cemetery was a burial place for about 38,000 people. And so when the city decided that they no longer wanted to use this space as a cemetery, this was when they were building houses right up to the cemetery basically, and the city had grown a lot bigger, and it was very overcrowded. So you can imagine 38,000 people, still a lot of people to fit into this space. They were concerned about bodies contaminating the water supply. They were concerned about people living in close proximity with bodies. Whenever it would rain really hard or the lake would flood, you would see bits and pieces of coffins and material sticking up out of the ground. So there were all sorts of interesting ghost stories. But the most enduring legend is of the Couch team, which is behind us. So Ira Couch was a wealthy entrepreneur here in Chicago. He owned the Tremont Hotel and some other properties. And his was one of the last and largest monuments to be built here around 1857 or 1858. It seems to be incomplete. There's nothing written on these slabs here, and there was a lot of controversy about whether or not he and his family were ever buried here. There are some records that indicate that they were buried at Rose Hill Cemetery. One of his last surviving relatives in like 1911, which was the last time anybody claimed that they had gone inside here, claimed that he went in and saw that there were several bodies in there. There's supposed to be room for, I think, 12 people. But it remains a mystery. Nobody actually knows if he's buried in here or if anybody is buried in here. They would come here and they would say that at the stroke of midnight, a man in a long white gown, like a burial gown or nightgown, would come walking out of the door.
Like every night?
Like every night. And then as we walk through Lincoln Park, I'll talk about some of the highlights along the way of other haunted places. So do you guys have any questions so far?
Why was this the only one that was left here after they got rid of everything?
Oh, of course, that's an excellent question. So there's a couple different theories as to why. There was a theory that, it was too expensive to up and move, and it could also serve as a monument because there was no other marker or monument except for the modern day one that's behind us right there, Hidden Truths, which comes from Pamela Banos' website, describing that this in fact was City Cemetery. There's also the idea that because Chicagoans were so easily bought with a little bit of money, that the Couch team being as rich, or the Couch family being as rich as they were, waved some money under, city council's noses and said, "Can you leave the tomb where it is?" Behind us, in the parking lot for the Chicago History Museum, in around 1995, they unearthed 81 bodies when they built the parking lot. So that was 81 bodies and parts of bodies, including a Fisk metallic burial case, which was all the rage in the mid-1800s if you had the money to afford it. And it looked like a silver bullet sarcophagus that had a window that showed your face, and because it kept you almost perfectly preserved. And what happened was the construction people who accidentally unearthed it, cut it, and so the air got into it and the person inside started to decompose almost right away.
That's cool. It's one of the most real experiences we've ever had, as far as paranormal activity goes.
Well, so oftentimes the realest things are the most mundane. So the things that feel most like you're in the presence of regular people.
Right.
So
right.
Places where I've gone where it's been like an abandoned building, or it's been certain that I was the only person there, or not the only person, but there with like a group of us, and then heard like a voice or a footstep, heard like a door close, heard a cough. I stayed at this place in Iowa that's called the Villisca Axe Murder House.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast.
I had an ethical dilemma about going there because family was killed. An entire family, predominantly
12
children,
people, right?
were murdered. It was eight people, two adults and 6 children. And it's a teeny tiny house. I mean, it is teeny tiny. It is too big for all of us to fit in there comfortably, just to have like a conversation. So in the middle of the night, everybody was kind of groggy or falling asleep or asleep at that point, and I remember hearing just very abruptly, like a male voice upstairs just shouting out a word, not like angry shouting, just like if somebody was calling out like Mike or just something like that. It was just very abrupt, and I didn't even hear what it was, but it would like stopped my heart for like 1 second.
Yeah.
And I heard this other guy like jump. You know, he was across the room from me, so I was like, okay, one other person is awake and heard that too, and it's not me, not just me. And it was just one of those weird things where it was like, wow, like that was just a voice, it was just a person's voice.
Yeah.
And then your brain catches up to what's going on a minute later, and you're like, but we're all alone down here, and this house is supposed to be haunted. And at that house in particular, there are still axe marks in the wall. So, and the families have lived there since then and painted over it and everything, but there's like an axe mark in the wall from one of the blows was the blunt end first, so the axe sharp end went into the wall behind the person. Wow. So
They killed them all while they were sleeping.
yeah,
Okay. That's
only
right.
one of the children woke up, but they believe she was killed last, and she had a defensive wound on her arm, so like she held up her arm. Everybody else
Just
died in their sleep. So
Didn't no one, because it was never solved, right?
right.
Yeah.
They had like 7 different suspects, including axe murderers that had gone on killing sprees in parts of the Midwest at that time.
Right.
And they couldn't connect anybody.
And didn't they also they covered up the mirrors in the house and
The
everything?
person
That's
who did it
fine.
covered up the mirrors, which is a sign. It's a sign of respect, and it's also a sign of superstition. One, that they didn't have to look at themselves in the mirror, and 2, that it doesn't allow the souls to escape. Here we are, 2122 North Clark. It's one of the most easily Googleable places in Chicago, but there's no commemoration, there's no plaque, there's no sign, there's no historical marker to denote that this happens. We are here at the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which happened right behind us. You have to imagine the building being here right about where the grass meets the parking lot would have been the site of the back wall. People have seen people gather every Valentine's Day to commemorate the event, and in February it's often snowy, so people say that they've seen the depressions of 7 bodies in the snow, that people have heard like shouts and scuffles, and also heard gunshots in this area. So this is Chicago, gunshots are a part of life, but machine gunshots would certainly be something to take note of, and then hearing it in obviously a place like this that's quiet and you can see around you, especially if you live in the neighborhood, you would probably know if that was something unusual. There was a story told for many years about how dogs wouldn't be able to walk past this part of the street without having all of their hair go up, without putting their ears back, without growling, as if they were seeing somebody or as if they were communicating with Highball. Now, Highball didn't die during the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, but people have an affinity for animals in stories, so people have talked about Highball over the years and the trauma that he went through being there to witness it. One of my favorite stories about this place comes from the home for the elderly that's behind us. One of the tours was down here one night many years ago, and an old lady came out and was asking, hey, what are you guys up to down here? Well, we're talking about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and she told this story about how she had a room there in the home, and she had a vanity mirror that she couldn't look into, that she didn't want to put it away because it had a sentimental value to her, but she had actually bought some kind of covering to put over it, because every time she would look into that particular mirror, she would see a man in a pinstripe suit and a fedora standing behind her somewhere in the room. So here we are in the final leg of our trip through Lincoln Park. We're here in the infamous Dillinger's Alley. which, much like St. Valentine's Day Massacre site, is a very anticlimactic looking place. The Videography Theater is right next to us. That's called the Victory Gardens Theater now. And this is the alleyway where John Dillinger ran into and was shot dead, which is probably right around where we're standing. In any case, people have said over the years that they've seen the blue figure of a man running through the alleyway and then disappearing or falling over. That's really the primary ghost story that's attached to the place. But of course, to give you some background, John Dillinger is another big name in Chicago history. He was more of a bank robber than a gangster, but he sort of lumped into that era. He started robbing banks around 1925. He was put in jail. He broke out of jail. He spent time in Crown Point Jail in Indiana, which is supposed to be another haunted location for people looking to explore places outside of Chicago. It was in 1934 that he was killed finally by Melvin Purvis, who was an FBI agent who had searched for him for many years. He was so obsessed with Dillinger that, in fact, after this occurred, he himself committed suicide. So Dillinger was here that night. There's two signs up here, which is funny: Dillinger's Alley and Lady in Red Lane. He was here on that fateful night with Lady in Red, Anna Sage, who was a prostitute from England that he had befriended. She allegedly set him up with the FBI. She said she was going to be in a red dress, that they would know that it was her and that she was with Dillinger. He had just had plastic surgery to alter parts of his face so that he would be less recognizable, and obviously he was right out, in public in plain sight. It was said that she would give a signal, or that, when he got up at the end of the production, came outside, and the FBI and like 16 police officers were waiting for them there, chased him into the alley, and shot him several times. All right, so this is our final stop. Now it turns into like a haunted pub crawl because we're at the Red Lion Pub, one of the more famous haunted pubs / restaurants in Chicago. Here, this building was built in 1882. And over the years, it's gone through several renovations. The man who renovated it to make it into the Red Lion Pub added a beautiful stained glass window upstairs in honor of his father, who died in England and apparently didn't get a tombstone as part of his burial. And so he believes that his father haunts this area. People have become dizzy or felt faint in front of the stained glass or overcome with emotion, and he believes that that's a sign of his father's presence here. There's also other ghosts that are said to haunt the building. There's a little girl with mental disabilities that's said to be seen and heard around. The upstairs women's bathroom is supposed to be very haunted. And then there's a couple of different male spirits that are seen around. And people describe seeing like a man in a black hat, a man in a beard, over and over again. So very, very descriptive, not just shadows or, footsteps and this and that, but actually seeing these apparitions. So bars and pubs tend to be places with a lot of happy feelings and a lot of sad emotions as well. And they might be places that could attract spirits to them and people that want to stick around and be part of the party. So if you want, we can end the night having a drink.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Let's do this.
enjoying some spirits.
Oh!
Of
Yes!
a different kind.
We got it!
You got
That was
it.
the best one.
I cut.
You got the-
America is fucked.
Yeah.
Keep
Sure
that.
is.